Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. The topics on the table for you lot today, and my God, have we got a lot of news to get into. Erik ten Hag's sacking numbers revealed. Ashworth truth on how much compensation we paid him. Omar Berrada quotes. Raphael Varane interview. A load of stuff ongoing at the minute, plus messages coming in whilst I'm literally doing the intro, which is always appreciated. But yeah, Shreyas, we're going to discuss Erik ten Hag first, because this is the big story coming out. We kind of, there was ballpark figures being kind of put about, and people discussing it and not really knowing, but it's been released today by quite a few people, including Mike Keegan, Rich Fay, and a load of other reporters. And apparently they confirmed that they spent £14.5 million in cost associated with the departure of Erik ten Hag and his staff. Now, this decision alone at the moment, given everything else that's ongoing, which we'll definitely get into shortly, is almost the marker for Ineos at the moment, innit? Until like a big positive happens, this is their red big flag.
It is, and one of the biggest, drawbacks of all of this has been that this has become a big hurdle for us, not just in terms of, how the season is progressing, but also financially moving into the, how the winter window went for us and how the summer window will, actually end up for as well, because these are not small amounts that Ineos have been shuffling around. These are big amounts to pay out. And I don't think that they've even taken into consideration the amount they had to give Dan Ashworth to actually let him as well, after the time and the money they invested to get him in as well. So I get that you sometimes you can make mistakes, especially while making some appointments, but the mistakes that Ineos have made up until this point have been very, very disastrous. Because I don't think I think a lot of us expected that things would go bad for us this season, and it will take us some time to uh probably venture back into the top 6 or the top 4. But I don't think anyone expected us to be floating about 15th or 16th on the table. And with the way the performances have been going as well, it doesn't really fill you in with confidence, no matter who the opposition, whether it's Leicester, whether it's Southampton, whether it's Liverpool or City. So things do look bad. But from Ineos's front as well, they decided to back Erik ten Hag this season. They wanted him to be at the forefront, and they wanted him to continue. And
it matters that it's this season that they've done that. Don't feel like it at all, does it? It feels like last season.
It does, and that's I would say a worse thing.
Yeah.
That's actually a bit worse. But the amount of resources that they pulled in for Ten Hag, and the amount of money that was actually spent because of Ten Hag, these are a lot. You could probably say this is his 11. Like the players that Ten Hag wanted, this is like an 11 of Erik ten Hag players. So when you actually put in that amount of money and resources, you can only do that when you know that this manager is going to succeed at the club. You cannot, yeah, go ahead.
No, so I was just going to say, you touched on his recruitment and backing in there as well in the summer. And me and Sam was speaking about this yesterday. You look at the players that he's brought in, it's absolutely killed us for the prices. Anthony for 85 million, Højlund for 70 million, Mount for 60 million pounds. All these signing have killed us so much. So much. Because you think, like, there was news about Kane yesterday, right? And you think Kane would have cost around 100 million pounds, yeah? You spent almost that on Anthony. Do you know what I mean? And probably not far away. I mean, Anthony's on 200k a week. Kane would have commanded 300 to 400, I'd imagine. But the difference that you would have got from both players is fucking night and day.
Would have been, there would be a astronomical difference between the sort of numbers Anthony has put in and the sort of numbers Kane would have put in if we got him at the time. And I think one of the biggest problems about Ten Hag's tenure was, in the first season, I don't think anything was in his hand, because the kind of squad that he inherited, there were a lot of outgoings, and he was just trying to make the best of what he can. And in the second season, the players that he actually brought in, like Mason Mount for 60 million, and then I think he's on 250 or 260 grand a week. He replaced David De Gea for Andre Onana for around 50 million as well.
Yeah.
These were his two marquee signings, and none of them have actually fulfilled their roles. Mason Mount, no, because of injuries, I would say, has not at all fit the bill. You look at Andre Onana as well, with the kind of player that he is actually replacing in this team, he's nowhere near to the mark, especially with the kind of mistakes that he's made this season, the
Yeah.
kind of mistakes he made last season. And
And
I
have
think
we seen enough from him playing out from the back as well, what he was brought
not
in
at all,
for?
not at all. And we say this a lot of times that we need to try and we need to be a team which tries to actually play the ball out from the back. We've never really done that, and whenever we try to do that, we end up making mistakes and actually end up conceding goals.
Yeah.
So all of this just didn't really benefit Ten Hag a lot. And when you place that much amount of trust and that much amount of finances into a player, you expect them to actually at least do the bare minimum. When you
Yeah.
look at Anthony, he hasn't done that. He's balling out for Betis, but he hasn't been nowhere near to the mark when it comes to United. You
Yeah.
look at Mason Mount, never available. You look at Andre Onana, never fills you in with confidence when he is taking a shot, when he's actually defending off a set piece or a corner. There's always that thing in the back of your mind that this might go in one way or another. So there are a lot of, I would say, big question marks. And in the, like you mentioned, the striker position as well, we signed Rasmus Højlund for about 70 mil. And to sign a player like Højlund, I don't think first off that he is worth 70 mil. I wouldn't say that he is a bad player, but he is a player who's still in under development. He's nowhere near to the end product. And you bring him from Serie A after his first pro season, I would say, in a top
Hmm.
5 league, and then you ask him to be Man United's number 9. It's a big jump.
Yeah. Yeah, we touched on this yesterday. Look, Ineos, I think it's important to note that Ineos are taking over a shit show here. They are taking over, so many mistakes in recruitment from like the past couple of years, and there's a lot of heat on them at the moment. You look at there was other news. I mean, with United at the minute, it seems like there'll be really quiet days with news, and then one day will hit and it'll just be like a million things, and you're kind of taken back by it a little bit. So to add on to the Ten Hag stuff and on all the other stuff we're going to discuss today, we had reports about Dan Ashworth's situation. So we always thought initially it was £2 million that they had paid. It's actually double that.
Yeah.
So it's 4.1 million after he was there for 159 days. Okay, now I figured this out. That's 25 grand a day. 25
Yeah.
grand a day. That's what he's basically made whilst he's been there. Dan Ashworth is absolutely laughing with that amount of money. Not only that, obviously you've got all the other news. You've had stuff coming out about Ineos with I think it's the All Blacks, the team, the rugby team in New Zealand, with the sponsorship thing going on there.
Yeah.
Apparently Sir Jim has entered talks with Tottenham to make an early exit with their current sponsorship deal as well, which is due to expire in 2027. There's a lot of stuff ongoing with them at the minute. They need to get it right, don't they?
I think they're just trying to first off make as many cuts as possible,
Yeah.
so that they somehow divert that money into United, because we are in dire need of funds. But I think moving into next season, we might have to make certain deals that might rub us the wrong way, or you can even say can raise a few eyebrows. But it's the only way that this club can actually proceed further, because when it comes to finances, we are in a very terrible spot.
Yeah.
If you have to look at compensation packages that we have to play, we have had to pay Ten Hag or Ashworth or the coaching staff who
25
were
million in total.
exactly. So you need to raise that money from somewhere. And when you look at this team, Garnacho might be sold, and I'm taking this as a very I would say in a very serious light, because the players that Ineos would sell next season, they can't be players this sell on for like 500k, like this did with Donny, or like 5 million or 6 million. They need like actual good packages around 50 to 55 mil to actually make some cuts, make some additions to this team. And it is only possible if certain big names leave. You never know, maybe Bruno Fernandes fits into that sort of category, maybe someone else fits into that sort of category, because you can only sell those players for those sort of evaluations who are at least performing well, or at least other teams identify as very big talents who can make a difference in this team. And honestly, there are only a few in this team who fit that bill.
Yeah, I agree. Right, let's go to the comments then, because there's quite a few views in the chat. Please do smash the like of the video, subscribe to the channel. We're on 12,941 subs, so we're 59 of 13k. If there isn't anyone new, it takes 2 seconds. Please do just click that button in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Rainator saying 14 mil to sack him, 10 mil to hire Ruben. That's 25 mil in total. They extended his contract due to fan pressure, if we're honest, but wow, 14 mil seemed like a ludicrous payoff. This is the thing I have, right? So people might say, oh, well, you're a hypocrite because you wanted to keep him. It's different, right? Because fans aren't in charge of transfers, and fans aren't in charge of these kind of executive decisions, because fans think with emotion. The people who are in
Fans
charge at
want
the
Pogba
top,
back for some reason.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
fans feel in the moment. They want certain things in the moment. That's why they
Mm.
don't make decisions. There's no clarity. There's no thoughts. At the time, after Ten Hag won the FA Cup against Man City and just beat him convincingly, you sat there going, well, why wouldn't we? You know, like, I get that. Like, that was the emotion at the time. But I think there was a couple of people at the time at United, maybe an Omar Berrada. I think there was someone else as well there who was like, I still think we should get rid of him. And it was effectively, it was Dan Ashworth and Dave Brailsford who was like, no, we should keep hold of him, which ultimately led to such a big skew on this season and everything that's gone wrong in terms of the recruitment and sticking with him and that whole mess after he
Yeah.
went. So I get it. Fans wanted him to stay, but the board should have a clear head in those kind of decisions. For me personally, I don't know if you feel the same, Shreyas.
Yeah. I think they do, because especially I would say, when it comes to looking at it from a long term perspective, you need to take emotion out and actually look at the results.
Mm.
And if any other person, take a United fan out of the picture, and anyone else would have seen the way we performed in the league, the way we performed in the Champions League, which people actually seem to forget,
Oh,
wasn't good
so
at
bad,
all.
so bad.
And throughout that tenure, we threw away 2 goal leads or 3 goal leads and ended up losing games.
Mm.
We made repetitive mistakes, and it wasn't even mistakes that you would say are new or something that we didn't really see coming. It was the same mistakes again and again. Not marking the your runner on the back post, passing errors while trying to play out from the back, conceding of set pieces every single time, midfield not being tracked enough, and a late runner going for goal through a cutback. It was again and again throughout the course of the season. So I think looking into all of this, and especially then looking into the summer window and going that we can invest around 150 to 180 million this season. Do we want to do this under the same manager or not? Because if we do actually, use this amount for this manager, if it doesn't work out, it's going to hurt us a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think Ineos should have actually really taken that into consideration, because I'm sure if they would have hired Amorim in the beginning of the season, I'm not saying we'll be in the top. We would have been in the top 4, but at least we would be in the top half of the table.
Yeah, well, you'd like to think so, innit? And I know that there's a couple of people in the chat saying, pleading for patience and these kind of things. I get it. It will take time and it will take a couple of
Yeah.
years. But at the same time, you also can't blame fans for being impatient, because we've heard this stuff season in, season out from every time we get a new manager. It's like, oh, this is going to take 2-3 years. He's not got his players in yet. It's not this, it's not that. We've had that story for the last decade almost. So the fact that fans are getting annoyed with it, I completely understand. You can't really blame them for that,
Yeah.
I know Omar Berrada's been speaking about the situation in general. There's a couple of quotes coming out from him. He's saying, we recognise the challenges in improving our men's team's league position, and we're all working hard to achieve that. At the same time, we're pleased to have progressed to the knockout phase for the Europa League and the 5th round of the FA Cup. On Carrington, he said, our redevelopment of the training complex remains on track. We continue to work towards a decision on the future of Old Trafford as part of a wider regeneration programme, which has now attracted UK government support. And they've also released the second quarter financial results, showing total revenue down 12% from the prior year. So a lot of things ongoing in a minute. But do you think Omar's surprised at how bad it's gone since he's come in?
I'm sure he has, because I think he out of all the people would have known the problems at Man United. And he I think he when he was appointed, even he commented on it that United have been overpaying for players and making crazy evaluations, which has actually hurt the club's finances and the club's standing in the transfer market as well, and negotiations wise as well. United isn't really seemed as hard to actually negotiate with. So I think he knew what he's getting into, but what it has become now, I don't think he would have even dreamt that
Mm.
we'd be anywhere near 15th or 14th, or even having conversations that you never know, maybe we are in a relegation battle.
Maybe that's
So
why they shifted Dan Ashworth so quickly to get
yeah,
that balance right and to get that, because there was obviously some disagreements, wasn't there?
there were disagreements, and the only thing that surprised me was that they invested a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money into actually getting Dan Ashworth in. Now,
Mm.
if he, him leaving in, before even a year into his deal with United, just not proper planning maybe by the board, but something was there which didn't really
Well,
sit right. And
Jim was saying about him, he was one of the things he said, he's one of the best in the business at what he does. This is why he's coming to this club, 'cause it's one of the best clubs. And after 159 days to get rid of him, that's quite strong. You know what I mean?
yeah,
To have those thoughts. So something must have. I don't know if there's an NDA signed from Ashworth's side or anything like that. He's probably doing snow angels in money. Let's be clear, if he's making 25 grand a day, but something
yeah.
has gone wrong. And this season, I'm just hoping it stays that it's just this season where things are going wrong, and next year you'll start to see improvements and there'll be a lot more positivity, because right now it just feels like a shitstorm, doesn't it?
Yeah, and sometimes it scares me to say that this is the worst that I've seen, because every other week end up seeing something even worse. And whether it's on the pitch, whether it's
Mm,
something coming out from the media front, but nothing just seems, I think at the moment, just there is nothing that is actually flowing in a positive direction.
no,
And
no,
so I would say sometimes going on a 3 to 4 winning game run actually
can
helps out a lot,
change
because
so
it
much.
diverts the fans. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it,
yeah,
even if things financially and other things are actually not really going your way, but you're at least winning games on the field, it diverts the fans into a positive direction.
yeah.
Right now, there is no consistency when it comes to results. Every single game, every other game, we are, in a situation where no matter what opponent we are actually playing, we always have that thing in the back of our mind that, they can actually take the game to us at any moment in the game that they want.
Mm,
So it's just a very nervous atmosphere.
yeah.
And when you look at these players, there you can handpick only 4 or 5 of them that you can say have a future at the club, because the others nowhere near to the level.
No.
Especially when you look at the system that Amorim is implementing, nowhere near to the standards.
Agreed. Talking about standards and talking about drama, this show does not finish here, because there's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff on Raphael Varane, basically. And not only just the interview, there was a bit of an outburst around that as well. So, effectively,
yeah,
Charlotte Harper, who works for the Athletic, has done an in-depth interview with Raphael Varane, which is fantastic. I'd implore anyone to go check it out and give it a read. Really, really good. And this was an exclusive. I think a lot of it's done in French. It worked really hard on it from what you can see in the detail that you read. And a bit of this was published basically by an aggregator account on X called Centre Devils, I think it is,
yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
then kind of created this whole drama this afternoon, morning, whatever you want to call it. And Laurie Whitwell commented on this post saying basically, you've lifted 16 passages from Charlotte Harper's excellent exclusive interview and failed to credit her or The Athletic. Despite us having conversations about fair usage to avoid copyright infringement, you are outrageously disrespectful. Delete extra post and link as agreed. That was just from Laurie Whitwell. Andy Mitten took to X as well, and I think his was even stronger, to be fair, in what he put. Let me find it. I don't know if he's deleted it now. I really want to find it if he hasn't. It was something on the lines of like, can't remember. It was similar to what Laurie put, but it was like really, really strong, basically saying you're disgusting. Like, I can't believe you've done this, taking someone's really good work. And there was a big outrage about it, basically, but I think he might have deleted it. Seeing this, what are your thoughts on aggregator accounts, Shreyas? Because obviously there's a lot of information that comes from them. So from fans, you do benefit from that information, and you do like to see certain stats or certain quotes that you may not have seen. So we benefit from it. But from a journalistic point of view, if you was to go over and do an interview with Raphael Varane and someone else is posting it, you'd be pissed off, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and especially posting your stuff even without asking you.
Yeah, yeah. Or
So
tagging you.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So
crazy.
I think that actually is a bit disrespectful, because the fans don't know who is actually putting in the work to
Mm,
actually put this sort of stuff out. And I'm sure, having to get an exclusive interview, especially with a player like Rafa Varane,
yeah,
not easy at all.
big.
And to actually get the sort of quotes and get the sort of remarks that she actually did from Rafa Varane about the ex-manager, about the stuff going on at United, not an easy task at all.
Hmm.
And then someone else actually, comes up, puts it all out, and fans actually end up thinking that, this is the person who might have actually got this thing done. So it is disrespectful, especially, this is not the first time that this is happening. This has been happening over the years by a lot of other accounts as well,
Yes. Yeah.
especially during the Ratcliffe and Saudi takeover thing.
Oh my
A
goodness
lot of
me.
this was happening every single time, and you could see journalists getting pissed off every single day because of
Mate,
it.
I've seen aggregator accounts going at aggregator accounts. So
Yeah,
MUFC MPB, who are another aggregator account, other
yeah,
sources. I won't name who because I don't know if it's true or not. If they actually are doing it, but they're waiting for MUFC MPB to post something, and then they retweet it as if it's their own
yeah,
information, and it's all going
yeah,
off in the X world. It is a weird balance because obviously for a lot of stuff that we do, it's helpful and maybe other fan channels or whatever won't say this, but they will use that information. They will see it and they will jot it down and they'll be like, right, this topic points and talking points. And so a lot of times won't give the credit out to the aggregators as well. So it's kind of,
yeah,
I don't know, it's a weird atmosphere that we're in this kind of football fan channel
yeah.
space. But
We've had a channel in this space trying to copy stuff from us,
yes,
claiming it as their own. So
not trying, but like full blown.
yeah,
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 you couldn't be copying more. Do you know what I mean? Which I suppose I take it as imitation is the best form of flattery, right? So if someone's trying
yeah,
to copy
yeah.
something, if someone's trying to do something, it's because you're good at it and it's because you do something well. So I
Mm.
take it as that a lot of the times. I don't take it as like, oh, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that. But obviously, people have a big following to protect. They have a big audience, and I kind of understand it. We're going to dive into the actual quotes from Raphael Varane in a moment. I just want to go to the comments. There's a few interesting ones in there. Punch Paint, big up Real Reds Talk. I'm still feeling optimistic about our cup chances. When our back's against the ropes, we start fighting back. I hope you're right, Punch.
Yeah.
Charlie saying Ashworth wanted to keep Ten Hag and he wanted Southgate to replace him. He had a massive clash with Jim. I'm not surprised if he's mentioning names like
Mm.
Southgate. Rain is saying the Varane quotes today definitely reinforced my backing for Ruben. The atmosphere among these privileged players must be so toxic for any sane human to handle. And Andy Mitten referred to them as faceless parasites. That was it. That was the word that I was looking for.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know if he's deleted it, but I did see that quote. So very strong. And Andy Mitten's very strong on that. He's probably, in my opinion, and this it might be bad to say because we've had Laurie on, we've had Carl Anker, we've had amazing journalists on this channel. Andy is one of probably the best journalists in terms of due diligence, actually going places. This guy will go to Romania, to fucking Brazil and all these places to speak to like goalkeeper coaches, and like he proper does his research.
Yeah.
So you could tell he's going to get pissed off about things like this because obviously Charlotte Harper's done excellent work. But let's talk about that interview because there is a couple of interesting quotes coming out from that especially about Erik ten Hag Shreyas. So Raphael Varane spoke about after the season. He says, I was surprised he stayed. The connection with the group basically no longer existed. There was a lot of players unhappy with Erik ten Hag at the side. And it's kind of mad when you hear that, isn't it? Because obviously we know there's rumblings going on, but to hear it from the horse's mouth is different.
I, s- I think I still remember. I think we actually had a show about this as well last year. That there
Mm,
seems to be a big disconnect between the
yeah.
players and the manager because whenever they step onto the pitch, it just doesn't seem like they're functioning as a team. And this was not once. This happened numerous times last season.
Hmm.
And we often said this on the channel that, there is definitely something going on behind the scenes. It can't be, in this way that, every single week we are seeing the same amount of performances by the same players, same mistakes every
Hmm.
single time. We're just hoping for a miracle in the last 10 minutes of the game to actually see us out. So it is quite evident that this happened. And I still remember, I think at the start of the season last year, we had a derby against Man City. And we saw Maguire and Evans actually playing as a partnership together when Varane was fully fit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everyone couldn't really understand why someone like Evans is playing up against, duo like Alvarez and Haaland.
Can I interject? Because there's a quote on
Yeah,
this exactly relating to that.
yeah,
So, on,
yeah.
on what happened between him and Erik Ten Hag between October and December 2023, he said, "We had a robust discussion. We told each other some truths, but then I didn't play for almost 2 months. I said I didn't agree with certain ways of doing things regarding the relationship between him and the team. It wasn't something that I thought was good for the team because some of the players weren't at all satisfied. It was not good in terms of the relationship with the coach." He said, "Okay, I hear what you said. And after that, I didn't play." Which is for someone like Varane to step up and speak, it's like a captain speaking in it basically, because everything he's
Yeah.
won in the game, World Cups, Champions Leagues, etc., league titles, he obviously knows something about winning. So how do you manage that dynamic actually as a manager? Because you've got your philosophy, you've got your thoughts, and you want to be strong-willed and all that kind of stuff. But then when you've got someone like Varane saying, "Listen, coach, this isn't working. We need to tweak it. We need to be a bit more flexible," and for him to shut him down, it's weird, isn't it? Like that balance.
Yeah, because look, this isn't a situation where Varane went to the manager and actually said this. This is and said this to a new manager who's just come in and
Mm,
trying to implement his theory, trying to implement his system, into in the Premier League. He's going into this to Erik Ten Hag when he's already had one season in the Prem,
mm.
did ended up
Yeah.
finishing third in a trophy, and then next year in he decides to make a shift into the system, and results aren't really flowing in your direction,
Yeah.
and you've practically got like 7 to 8 players of your liking in this team. So, and then if a player is actually going to you and saying, we need to change something because definitely this isn't the way to go in the future, and we are not really pulling any results. I think that is when a manager does need to listen to his players, because it is not even a situation that someone like Sancho or someone like Anthony is coming and saying, we need to change stuff, things aren't really working. I mean, these are players who haven't really been even delivering for us on the pitch.
Hmm.
Varan is someone who knows this game in and out. He's someone who's performed for us week in and week out. And I do get people say that he had a lot of injury concerns, but take the injuries out of the picture. Whenever he played for us, he was absolutely solid.
Yeah.
So, and he was a leader in this team, no doubt. And whenever he played, we looked much, much more composed. Whenever when you look at the defensive line, so we saw these a lot of times. Ten Hag clashing with older players in the team, senior figures in the team. It happened with Casemiro as well. Casemiro didn't play in the last 3 to 5 games of the season
Hmm.
and the FA Cup final against City.
Yeah. After
So
filling in for Ten Hag at centre back for
yeah,
him, basically.
so you could see it happening. You didn't gel up with Ronaldo, didn't gel up with Varane, didn't gel up with Casemiro, and had clashes with Rashford as well. Had clashes with a
Mm.
lot of players at the club. So especially when things aren't really going into your favor, I think you need to adapt. You need to make certain tweaks, especially when considering the amount of time Ten Hag had already spent in the Prem.
Yeah.
So there was surely something that was going on behind the scenes, and with someone like Varane actually coming out and saying it, fills a lot of blanks that we were actually looking out for last season.
Well, he spoke about his coaching style as well, and he said, in comparison to Real Madrid, he said it was the opposite, with fairly rigid patterns of play defined in advance. There was very little flexibility in terms of adapting on the pitch. The game plans were very, very precise, with lots and lots of information. It was different. So it shows he's very meticulous, but obviously not flexible enough to balance it in certain games. Now, certain comparisons might be made with Ruben Amorim at the moment, saying that he's being too strict with his system and wants to stick to his beliefs, his philosophies. But I think that is a natural trait in a lot of coaches. You see this from so many that will just stick with their beliefs, and you can't really knock a person for that. However, with Ten Hag at the time, you remember how bad the football was, how chaotic it was, how the fans just please go a bit more pragmatic. Now we seem to have gone a bit more pragmatic with Ruben Amorim, and you're having the same problems with the same play. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of it for me comes down to these players just aren't good enough. They are
They
simply
don't
not
have the
good
quality.
enough. They don't have the profile to do. We need, whether you look at Ten Hag's team or whether you look at how Amorim's trying to set up, we crave athleticism and intensity in a lot of
Yeah,
areas. Shreyas.
yeah. Most, I would still say, the three center backs I can still make do with. When you look at the players we got, having Mazraoui, Delict, Yoro, Maguire, Lisandro, I'm still okay with the defense. I don't have many problems because I know Mazraoui can do an exceptional job in that role. I know
Hmm.
Delict can do it. I know Maguire, and when Euro becomes a bit more regular with this, with his minutes as a starter, I'm sure Euro will actually shine through as well. But you move forward, the wing backs, the midfield, the number 10s, the striker, all of them are big question marks. Um, Midfield, I'm delighted with how Ugarte has shined through. I'm delighted with Toby Collier. Uh, I would even say I'm delighted with the way he's used Menu as that inside 10. So I still see certain players who can do a job, but we need more
Yeah.
because you can see it right now. Menu is out, Ugarte is out, Collier is out, just like that, and we're back to having Bruno actually accommodating in that position. We are back to having to accommodate Casemiro or Eriksen in that position, and that just takes the complete energy out of that midfield altogether.
Mm.
So we are in. I think we are in desperate need of someone, at least one more midfielder in this team who can play as that box to box role and has that sort of agility and mobility, just like Ugarte. Then you look at those wing backs as well. Dallo is nowhere near to the mark to function in this system as a wing
Mm.
back. And inside tens wise as well, Bruno and Ahmad are there, but Ahmad is out for the season now.
Yeah.
You could see Bruno and Ahmad actually forming a good partnership, but Ahmad is gone. And the moment you have taken Ahmad out of the picture, the goals have actually dried up.
And next up for us now is Everton at Goodison Park, where they have a strong athletic side that are going to bully us all over the pitch. I'm telling you now,
Oh,
it'll be such a tough game that.
yeah.
But we will have the preview for that tomorrow. I think we'll do it probably later on during the day. We should be back with a pre-recorded video at 7 o'clock tonight with all the other latest news because it's so busy today with a lot of stuff. I'm sure there'll be more stuff coming out on top of the financial figures and the Varane interview. So we'll speak about that a little bit later on. Apart from that, please do subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video. If you bottom right hand corner of your screen, there is socials, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, and TikTok. They have all the latest updates, videos, and stuff that you need if you want to get kind of your news fix still throughout the day. So drop us a follow over on there. Appreciate every single one of you tuning in and taking time out of your day to get involved with the conversation with me and Shreyas. Likewise to Shreyas as well. And we'll see you guys in the next one.